Tides of Torment is landing soon, bringing with it a huge free update to Warhammer 3. We have reworks for Norsca, Slaanesh and the High Elves, along with a brand new free lord to play with. Let's take a look at everything and see how exactly it all works. And of course you can click around the chapters if you want to skip ahead to different races or factions, but first we have Norsca. Norsca has surprisingly seen very few changes as far as their actual mechanics, and it's more so been about making those existing mechanics functional and also a little bit more fun to play with. They're keeping both their allegiance to the dark gods and monster hunts, but both have been significantly overhauled to be a lot more fun to play with, alongside their new approach to settlements. Speaking of which, how they approach settlements really is the bedrock of their new playstyle, so it makes the most sense to start there. For Norsca, there are two types of settlements. Those in Norsca and those that aren't. Norscan settlements can be occupied like you would when playing as any other faction. You win a settlement battle or colonize some ruins for a bit of cash and get straight to building. Non-Norscan settlements can also be colonized, but this requires large amounts of their new currency called spoils. Spoils are mainly gathered by your armies whenever they pillage and raise settlements post-battle. If this option is selected, a small army spawns which must be sent back to an owned settlement or altar to add these spoils to your faction's total. This gives you some extra incentive to set down routes throughout the map, so you are never too far from a drop-off point. Spoils can also be used in various events and to build certain buildings, allowing you elite recruitment in smaller settlements, so it really is worth gathering all game long. Alongside regular settlements, they can also build brand new altars, and these are part of their allegiance to the Dark Gods mechanic. Instead of raising in the name of these gods, you instead erect altars which are effectively mini settlements. These come with their own limited set of buildings that grant various effects to the local and adjacent regions to aid your campaign, such as increased post-battle loot, replenishment, and even limited recruitment. They have very small garrisons, but in general aren't the most defended, so be sure to wipe out nearby threats to keep them safe. When building these, you have the choice of the 4 dark gods, and the more you build of each kind, the higher the levels of bonuses you unlock for that god. Each altar provides unique effects to your army when built, and each god has their own set of effects, including capacity for chaotic units, buffs for those units, alongside buffs for other units in your faction, as well as your campaign. There isn't really a bad choice, so to condense things to a single sentence each, Serpent makes characters tougher and armies cheaper, Crow increases growth and building income, Hound increases weapon damage and XP per turn, and Eagle increases magic reserve and reduces spell cooldown. Of course, there's more to them than that, but feel free to pause and have a read, as there are far too many effects to list off one by one, and many of them are slight variations on the same thing. Reaching the max tier of any of these gods will offer you a dilemma where you can recruit their legendary lord or hero. Choosing one will lock you out of unlocking the others, but you will still be able to reach the max tier of allegiance with them all, so should still be able to harness all these effects at once, provided you can build and defend 60 altars. If you choose to reject all 4 gods, you'll then be attacked by 4 armies, and if you defeat them all, you will gain a massive buff for the rest of your campaign. Their monster hunts are also seeing a huge rework, so are first of all actually functioning, and secondly a lot more engaging to interact with. Hunts are now separated into 3 categories. Glory hunts are for regiments of renown, new items and other bonuses. Taming hunts have multiple stages. The first stage can only be completed once, but the second can be repeated infinitely, allowing you to farm powerful units for use in your armies. This opens up more options when building armies, as you can take the time to do a bunch of taming if you really want to feature a bunch of monsters in your roster. Lastly, trophy hunts are for powerful items and one-time rewards. All 3 of these can only be completed in certain climates, so be sure some of it is nearby to whichever lord you assign the hunt. And yes, you now assign certain lords to hunts, so only that lord can complete each step. Completing a certain number of each type of these different hunts will grant you the Supreme Hunter status, granting you increased bonuses and reduced cooldowns for hunts, along with massive buffs for your monster hunt monsters. This is something I would work towards as soon as you can, as it will make all other hunts far more profitable, not to mention empower any monsters you recruit into your own armies. Lastly, they also have some new marauding actions they can take in any regions where they own an altar or settlement. They can enact these to gain various bonuses in the local region, such as raiding unowned settlements for gold, enemy debuffs, or buffs based on what altars you have locally. They're pretty simple, but the despoilment action in particular is very useful for getting a ton of cash when you first take a settlement or altar in a province. The tech tree has also seen some massive changes. We now have 3 pages, one for unit upgrades, one for campaign improvements, and one for rewards whenever you capture racial capitals, just like in their original tree. It's a fairly substantial change and feels a lot better to navigate, but it's still your standard tech tree upgrades, so I won't spend too much time here. Alongside these changes to the faction as a whole, the individual legendary lords have also seen some changes. Wulfric's new mechanic is actually one you can make use of whilst playing as anyone, as long as you confederate the Wanderer himself. When in water, his army can teleport to any port he has vision over and even take nearby allied armies with him. This allows him an incredible amount of freedom when moving around the map, as he can send out scouts to find ports and be there in an instant. It does of course have a cooldown, but as long as you're staying busy when you reach your destination, it should be available to you whenever you need it. His army can also attack settlements from the sea, making him really feel like a seafaring marauder raider. Aside from his mechanic, he's still the marauder specialist and now has the added bonus of being extremely powerful on the water. Throg's Troll Focus has now been expanded into its own mechanic. At the top of the screen you have a new meter with 6 different tiers. These can be filled up by increasing your Troll King's dominion, and this is done by building new troll buildings. The higher your tier, the more bonuses you unlock for troll type units, alongside the ability to summon temporary hordes that act similar to war armies from the Greenskins. These will aid your lords in battle, but will dissipate once the monstrous horde event ends. Using these temporary units and building troll buildings consumes the new Trollkin currency. This is generated by troll buildings along with any troll units in your army, so it's fairly easy to gather a lot of. It can then be spent on these monstrous hordes alongside building and upkeeping certain troll buildings. He can also capture various locations around the world, granting him access to Bile, Chaos, River and Stone trolls, so he really can be king of all the trolls. Mechanics aside, he's the same Throg you know, who loves trolls and roaming wherever he pleases, just now he's a lot better at it. The changes for Slaanesh aren't as extensive as the other 2 races in the DLC, but they still feel a little better to play thanks to a number of small changes to their technology and infrastructure. It's a lot of smaller changes come together to make the race or really Nakari feel better. The new tech tree has 2 pages, Sensations has 6 groups focused on racial mechanics, income, infrastructure, and other campaign bonuses. Disciples is focused on unit buffs for both demonic and non-demonic units, depending on your preference. Nakari now has the ability to seduce enemy lords into becoming Chaos Lords for his faction. This works on any faction with 50% or more seductive influence and can be used on any lords in the same province as long as they are not legendary. They'll immediately be in play on the campaign map with a small number of units based on what they had in their home faction. This does have a 20-turn cooldown and is a great way to not only spawn more armies when you need it, but also to weaken enemies on the attack. Just remember to grind seductive influence so you have the option, otherwise you are shit out of luck. However, whilst they may not be seeing a full-scale rework, they are getting a whole new lord for free. The Masque of Slaanesh is leading the Accursed Troop, which is of course the free DLC lord being added along with the DLC. The faction has a strong focus on demonic units and even more so within Masque's own army. Alongside this, armies in her faction gain access to the Eternal Dance. This is a new screen from the Lord menu and allows you to build up bonuses over the course of a campaign in the form of various dances. You can choose from 3 dances and each one has initial effects along with options for each tier. These come in the form of all kinds of buffs and bonuses for your armies like unit buffs, abilities and more. Once a dance is selected, every time that army wins a battle, it'll build up tempo. Upon reaching certain thresholds, this will allow you to pick from a choice of these bonuses at each tier to build a dance exactly how you want it. You can switch these effects later, but it will come at the cost of some tempo, so try to be sure the first time. Once a dance reaches the maximum stage of tempo, you'll unlock a final ability known as a Reckoning. Once unlocked, this grants you a powerful ability for use in the campaign map, along with faction-wide bonuses listed along the top of the screen. Also, upon completing the dance, it can be recorded in your repertoire. You can then load this exact set of effects into your lords when using the same core dance. You seem to only be able to record one at a time, so make sure it is one that you are happy with. Once each of the 3 starting dances are complete, you unlock access to the 4th and final option. This works just like the other 3, but probably has the best final ability, allowing you to send an enemy army on a rampage until it wipes itself out. It's a pretty simple mechanic but gives you something to manage for a large number of turns until you find the dance that works for you. Plus, depending on your composition, different dances and effects may be more powerful, so there's lots of room for experimentation. And of course, we can't talk about the new faction without giving a little extra love to the Lord. The Masque is essentially a much stronger melee-focused Herald of Slaanesh. She doesn't have any spells, but does have a number of powerful abilities she can switch between at will to buff, debuff, and even deal damage to nearby enemies. She's pretty straightforward and wants to be on the front lines or flanks, focusing on the most important single entities you can find. Enemy lords and heroes are great options either by charging or sustained melee with her excellent stat card. The only worry is low armor, so avoid ranged focus, and she should be fine. And lastly, the High Elves. They've seen a few changes to their core gameplay, but the most impactful is their new Patrons of the Realms mechanic. This is a new mechanic that all of the lords in the faction have access to. Essentially, it's the elect counts but for the High Elves, but getting a patronage is a little bit more complicated. Influence can be used to take patronage seats around Ulthuan, and a lot of the time you'll need to take them from other factions, which obviously doesn't go down very well. Once you have control of a patronage, you gain access to a number of bonuses that vary from patronage to patronage. Each one can also be upgraded by spending influence to increase your standing. This unlocks more powerful effects, and each patronage has 3 tiers of bonuses. At the max tier, it can no longer be taken from you, so it's well worth getting to the max to keep them safe. If an AI faction makes a move to take your patronage, you can either spend influence or engage in intrigue to keep it. Intrigue allows you to choose from a selection of options to keep your position, or at least get something in exchange for it. The notifications for this are a little easy to miss, so be sure to keep an eye out for them so you can maintain control. Patronages can only be taken if the province is under High Elve control, so making sure Ulthuan's borders are secure will be a good idea to make sure you can get the most out of this mechanic. Patronages also work alongside the new Favour of the Phoenix King. This is a new bar on the patrons menu that can be filled up by winning battles against foreign races, being allied with other High Elves, and of course owning and upgrading patronages. The higher this level is, the more patronage positions you can own at once, allowing you more and more rewards. Foreign races owning settlements on Ulthuan lowers the maximum favour you can gather, so securing borders is doubly important. The second part of this mechanic is Court Unity, and this is the new system that allows you to confederate every other High Elf legendary lord. For everyone except the High Elf Sea Patrol, all you need to do is have a level 3 patronage in their assigned provinces, and for the Sea Patrol, you need to own 3 Elven colony settlements and raise the favour of the Phoenix King to level 5. Doing this is just like regular Confederation, where you take control of that faction's armies and settlements and face a faction-wide penalty to High Elf relations and control for a few turns. If the faction is wiped out, you can still use these actions, you'll just gain access to their faction leader in your lord pool rather than gaining control of any territory. It's a pretty simple system that makes Confederation a little bit more involved and makes influence a little bit more interesting to use. The tech tree is now separated into 2. The first part, the hosts, is focused on unit upgrades with different areas for each part of the roster. You have infantry, cav, and all other standard units, along with some areas for lords and heroes. The realms is where you can find all of your campaign and infrastructure buffs. Building upgrades, influence, diplomacy, and everything else not combat related can be found here. It's fairly similar to the old one, just a little bit more spread out, so easier to navigate. Just don't tell Fred about the horizontal scroll bars. But alongside changes to the race, we also have some for the individual lords. Tyrion's new champion of the Ulthuan mechanic is super straightforward and is similar to Karl's machinations. You have a selection of actions you can spend influence to perform, and this is divided into 2 sections. The air menu has your standard actions, most of which are available from turn 1. These allow you to gain a range of buffs for your armies, diplomacy, and settlements to help you in your campaign. Once everything is unlocked, you have quite a few strong options available that give you plenty of motivation to collect as much influence as possible. The Alliances menu surprisingly has actions that only unlock once you form an alliance or confederate the other legendary High Elf factions in the game. These give you powerful bonuses that are themed around what that faction and their playstyle is. Nagriff are all about weakening enemies, the White Tower is about magic, and so on. It's a pretty simple mechanic, but gives him a little bit more to do. He's still one of the easiest campaigns for new players, but now as a neato cheeto little mechanic to have a little play around with. Teclis's Secrets of the White Tower is pretty similar to Balf's mechanic after his rework. As you battle with casters in your armies, you'll earn Scrolls of Knowledge, and these can then be spent in the White Tower. From here you can choose from a large number of actions separated into 5 chambers. Each chamber has 4 repeatable actions and 4 one-time uses. The repeatable actions allow you to grant temporary bonus effects for yours and enemies' armies and heroes. These are things like access to Cataclysm spells, powerful magical bonuses, or massively debuffing enemies. Most of these have quite short durations, so make sure you are using them when you can make the most of them. The one-time use actions allow you to instantly summon powerful mage heroes with special traits, alongside reducing the cost of all spells in a certain lore, and increasing the recruit rank of that lore's mages. These are great long-term investments, so it all really depends on if you need help now, or sustained help over the course of a game. Just like Balthazar, the best way to make the most of this mechanic is mage spam. More mages battling means more scrolls, means more powerful upgrades, and of course, more mages. It's not the most complex, but Teclis has something else up his sleeve. Upon securing his starting province, he now has the option to teleport back to Ulthuan and confederate Safri. This gives him a nice change of scenery from the ass end of the world he's been stuck in for so long. Plus, it makes it a little easier for him to take part in the Patrons of the Realms. He can also choose to confederate Safri but remain in the ass end of the world, or just stay where he is and receive honestly not that much golden scrolls. As always, the choice is yours, but at least he has a choice these days, because this place can be pretty rough. And that is everything coming in the free update hitting with Tides of Torment. Let me know what you are looking forward to the most, whether that's the new free LC Lord, or simply reworking some of your old favourites. Let me know in the comments below, like, subscribe, and if you want more Tides of Torment content, then check out this video all about the new units coming with the DLC.